If I let you go, you die. If I keep you, I might kill you myself. Elisa says it without emotion, like she's ordering coffee, like she's commenting on the weather. Lee Jun stares at her across the dim warehouse, hands zip-tied behind his back, heart hammering so hard he can taste copper on his tongue. Sweat drips down his spine despite the November cold, seeping through broken windows. "So what's it going to be?" she asks, tilting her head slightly. Almost curious, behind them, footsteps echo through the cavernous space. Multiple sets, getting closer with each passing second. Shouts in a language he doesn't understand. Russian, maybe, or Ukrainian. The hard consonants bounce off concrete walls like bullets. She grabs his wrist, her grip iron strong, fingers like steel bands, and pulls him toward a rusted door barely visible in the shadows at the far end of the warehouse. "Move, now, don't make me say it twice." He stumbles after her into deeper darkness, this stranger in black tactical gear who dragged him from his repair shop 3 hours ago, with nothing but a gun pressed firmly to his ribs and a whispered warning he'll never forget. "They're coming for you. You have 30 seconds to decide if you want to live." The warehouse smells like rust and old gasoline, and something else he can't quite identify. Something organic, something that died here years ago and never quite left. Her boots strike concrete in steady, purposeful rhythm. Left, right, left, right. A metronome of survival. His breathing, pure panic, ragged, desperate. The kind of breathing that comes right before you pass out. "Why?" His voice cracks on the single syllable. "What did I do wrong to be hunted down like this? I'm nobody. I fix computers, that's it. That's all I do." She doesn't slow, doesn't even glance back over her shoulder. The mistake is that you know too much. His pulse hammers against his temples, hard enough to blur his vision. "I don't know anything, I swear to God. I just fix computers for people who can't afford the Apple Store." "You opened a file today. That's more than enough to get you killed." Bullets spark off metal somewhere behind them. Close, too close. The sound is deafening in the enclosed space. His ears ring. His legs feel like water. She yanks him left through a narrow gap between shipping containers that reek of motor oil, then presses him hard against cold brick. Their faces are inches apart now. He can see gold flecks in her dark eyes, can smell gunpowder and something floral. Perfume, maybe. An incongruous detail in this nightmare. "Stay completely quiet, or we both die here. Do you understand me?" He nods frantically, swallows terror like broken glass cutting his throat. Outside their hiding place, the footsteps pause. Voices murmur in that harsh language, searching, hunting. She presses one finger to her lips. Her other hand rests on the gun at her hip. The silence stretches. 1 second, 5 seconds, 10. And in that suspended breath of silence, that moment between heartbeats, Elisa asks herself the question she's been avoiding since the moment she found him. Why am I protecting a complete stranger? Why am I risking 10 years of planning, 10 years of carefully built connections and hard-won intelligence for a boy I don't even know? What is it about him that made me throw away everything I've worked for? The repair shop on 8th Street has no sign hanging outside, no neon declaration of services offered. Just a plain brass buzzer beside a narrow staircase that climbs steeply to the 2nd floor, the steps worn smooth by 20 years of foot traffic. People who need it know exactly where to find it. word of mouth, reputation, trust. Lee Jun sits at his cluttered workbench, surrounded by salvaged circuit boards arranged like puzzle pieces, half-dead machines awaiting resurrection, and the gentle hum of soldering irons heating to perfect temperature. His apartment is directly upstairs, one room with a Murphy bed, a bathroom with perpetually dripping pipes, a hot plate that works maybe half the time. His life is beautifully, perfectly simple. Fix broken things during the day, eat cheap ramen for dinner, sleep well enough, wake up, and do it all again. He likes it that way. Predictable, safe, quiet, no surprises, no complications. No one depending on him for anything beyond fixing their laptop or phone. His father would have approved. His father, who taught him that steady hands and patient work could fix almost anything, who showed him that there was honor in small repairs, in making broken things whole again. Yesterday afternoon, around 3:30, a man in an expensive charcoal coat dropped off a laptop. No small talk, no friendly banter about the weather or the neighborhood, just cash up front. More than the job was worth, actually. $300 for what should have been a $50 fix. And a single instruction delivered in a voice that discouraged questions. Make it work. I'll be back in 48 hours. The machine is old. 5, maybe 6 years. Corporate model. Dell or HP, one of those bulk purchase machines that offices buy by the dozen. Password protected, with basic encryption that honestly wouldn't keep out a determined teenager with YouTube and an afternoon to kill. June knows he shouldn't bypass the security. He absolutely, unequivocally knows better. His father taught him that. Respect privacy. Do the job you're paid for, nothing more, nothing less. But the challenge sits right there in front of him, glowing softly in the afternoon light, filtering through dusty windows. And he's always been good at puzzles. Better than good, it's the one gift he inherited from his father. Besides a cramped apartment and a lifetime of unanswered questions about how a man dies in a gas leak with no warning, no smell, no chance to escape. 10 minutes later, he's in. The password was embarrassingly simple, the kind of thing they warn you about in basic cybersecurity articles. A folder labeled Project Nightfall 2015 opens on the desktop like Pandora's box. Inside, blueprints for complex financial software that looks more like a weapon than a program. Offshore account networks spanning the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia. Nodes connecting like spider webs across the globe. Corporate organizational structures connecting companies across 3 continents in ways that can't possibly be legal. And buried deep in a subfolder marked Personnel Declined a Refusal document, signed by Lee Tae-min. June's breath stops completely. His hands freeze above the keyboard as if touching it might burn him. His father, dead 12 years now. Gas leak, they told 10-year-old June at the funeral. Tragic accident, wrong place, wrong time. These things happen. The city inspector was very sorry for his loss. Here's a death certificate. Here's a small insurance payout. Try to move forward. Try to heal. But here's his name. His actual signature. June would recognize it anywhere. That distinctive slant to the T, the way the M curves. On a document marked Declined Participation, Civilian Infrastructure Risk Unacceptable. Cannot assist with weaponized encryption. Dated 3 weeks before the gas leak that killed him. 3 weeks. 3 weeks before his father died, he'd refused these people. said no to something they wanted badly enough to document, badly enough to keep records, badly enough to... No, that's crazy. That's conspiracy theory thinking. People die in accidents every day. But his hands are shaking now, badly. His vision blurs at the edges. The room tilts slightly. It wasn't an accident, was it? They killed him. They murdered my father and made me think it was random chance. Across the city, in a small dim-sum tea house, tucked between a dry cleaner and a closed pawn shop with dusty windows, Elisa sits alone at a corner table. She's been sitting here for 3 hours, nursing the same cup of jasmine tea, watching the afternoon light shift across grimy windows. Steam rises from the delicate porcelain cup, genuine antique, probably worth more than the restaurant itself. The owner keeps it special for her. She tips well. She causes no trouble. She's the kind of customer you want. Her phone vibrates once against the red lacquered table. She glances down without moving her head. One line of text from an unlisted number. He opened it. She sets the cup down without making a sound. Her expression doesn't change, doesn't flicker, doesn't betray even the slightest emotion. She's spent 10 years learning to keep everything buried where no one can see it. 10 years building walls so high that even she sometimes forgets what's locked inside them. She leaves exact cash on the table, no change required, no interaction necessary, no reason for the waitress to remember her face, and walks out into the cool autumn air. The street smells like roasting chestnuts and car exhaust, normal city smells. Life continuing around her, oblivious. For 10 years, she's hunted the people who murdered her family. 10 years of dead ends and cold trails and bodies buried under so much corporate paperwork and offshore shell companies and legitimate business fronts that most people would have given up after 1 year. Maybe 2 if they were particularly stubborn. Most people aren't Elisa. Most people didn't watch their mother die on a warehouse floor while begging for her daughter's life. Most people didn't spend their 14th birthday in a hospital bed, recovering from 3 gunshot wounds, being told by sympathetic detectives that the case was cold, the killers long gone, justice unlikely. And now, a boy fixing laptops in a no-name repair shop has accidentally stumbled onto the key she's been searching for since she was 17 years old and finally strong enough to start hunting. Her reflection stares back from a darkened shop window as she passes, composed, lethal, controlled, not a hair out of place, makeup perfect, clothes expensive but unremarkable. A queen who lost her kingdom and never stopped searching for the people who burned it down. Time to bring him in, before they find him first, before they do to him what they did to his father. June closes the shop 2 hours early, hands still trembling slightly as he locks the security gate. He tucks the laptop carefully into his worn backpack. His mind won't stop racing in dizzy circles. Why was Dad involved with these people? What project did he refuse? What did it cost him? He's 2 blocks from home, cutting through a side street to avoid the evening crowd on the main boulevard, when a black sedan with tinted windows pulls smoothly alongside him. The rear window lowers with a soft mechanical hum. A woman looks out at him, mid-20s maybe. Beautiful in a way that feels sharp and intentional. Dark hair pulled back, eyes that miss nothing. Lee June, get in. He stops walking. His heart kicks against his ribs. I don't know you. You opened a file this afternoon at approximately 3:47 p.m. Her voice is calm, almost gentle, like she's discussing the weather. People have died to keep that file buried. More will die. If you want to survive the night, get in the car. Every survival instinct he has screams one word: run. But something in her eyes, not threat, not malice, just absolute certainty, keeps him rooted to the pavement. He gets in. The door closes with an expensive sound. The car glides forward, engine so quiet he barely hears it. Tinted windows turn the city into shadows and filtered light. Who are you? Elisa. She doesn't look at him. Her gaze stays fixed forward. As of 4 hours ago, you became the most valuable target in this city, possibly the entire eastern seaboard. I'm nobody. I just fix computers for people who can't afford the Apple Store. You just decoded evidence that could destroy a billion-dollar criminal network operating across 17 countries. She reaches into a leather portfolio beside her and hands him a manila envelope. Passport, airline ticket, credit card with a $20,000 limit, new identity. You leave tomorrow morning on the 6:15 to Vancouver. From there, you disappear. He stares at the documents in his lap. They look real, professional, like someone spent serious money on them. And you? I finish what I started. Alone. Alone. Her jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Always alone. The car stops outside a warehouse building converted to residential lofts. Industrial brick, iron fire escapes, the kind of place that used to make things before everything moved overseas. She leads him inside, up 3 flights of stairs with motion sensor lights that flicker on and off to a unit at the end of the hallway. She unlocks 3 separate deadbolts. The apartment inside takes his breath away. Not because it's beautiful, it's barely furnished. A couch, a table, a single lamp. But the walls, every surface is covered. Maps, photographs, newspaper clippings in 3 different languages. Timelines connected by red string that stretches across entire sections like a spider's web. A conspiracy board torn straight from a crime thriller, except there's nothing fictional about the images staring back at him. June's mouth goes completely dry. What is all this? My life. She points to a photograph pinned at the center of the largest wall. 3 people, smiling, arms around each other. A summer day, maybe a park? Years ago. A woman in her 30s with kind eyes, a teenage girl with her mother's smile, and a child, maybe 13, 14, trying to look tough for the camera. My mother, my cousin Maya, me at 14. They were killed because they witnessed a transaction they shouldn't have seen. The same organization your father refused to work for. June feels the ground shift beneath his feet. The room tilts slightly. My father was a brilliant man who said no when everyone else said yes. Her voice remains steady, controlled, like she's reciting facts from a textbook. He refused to build the encryption algorithm they wanted. He destroyed his work and threatened to go public. They eliminated him for it, made it look like an accident. When he died, they thought the proof died with him. She finally looks at him. Until you opened that laptop. I don't understand. What do you want from me? Help me decode what's left in those files. Finish what your father started. Then take that passport and disappear forever. She crosses her arms. That's all. He should take the ticket, should thank her for the warning and the head start. should be on that 6:15 flight without looking back. But he looks at her, really looks, and sees what she's trying to hide. The exhaustion carved into her posture, the grief living behind her eyes. This woman who's been carrying a mountain alone for 10 years, and something in him refuses to walk away. What if I can't just leave you to face this by yourself? Her eyes narrow. You don't understand what you're saying. You don't understand what these people are capable of. What they do to loose ends. What they did to your father. What they'll do to you if they find you. Maybe I don't. His voice finds steadiness somewhere deep in his chest. But my father died for this. Your family died for this. If there's even a chance to make those deaths mean something, to actually expose these people, bring them down, make sure they can't hurt anyone else ever again, I have to try. I have to. Because if I don't, then my father died for nothing. And I can't live with that. I can't. For the first time in years, maybe the first time since she was 14 years old in a hospital bed, something shifts deep in Elisa's chest, like a crack forming in permafrost that's been frozen for so long she forgot ice could melt. She doesn't thank him, doesn't smile or soften or show any outward emotion. Just nods once, sharp, final, accepting. This is a mistake. This is absolutely a mistake. But I'm too tired to keep arguing, and maybe, just maybe, I don't want to do this alone anymore. 72 hours of bad coffee, worse takeout, and almost no sleep. June works in focused silence at the single table, laptop screen casting blue light across his face. Lines of code scroll past, encrypted files slowly, painfully revealing their secrets. Elisa keeps watch from different positions around the apartment. By the window, near the door, sometimes just standing in the corner with her gun resting on her thigh. Always listening for sounds that don't belong. This isn't just financial fraud, June mutters, rubbing his burning eyes. It's a weapons-grade encryption key designed to infiltrate global banking systems, power grids, hospital networks, air traffic control. Anything connected to the internet could be compromised. They could crash entire economies, kill people without ever touching them. Elisa moves closer, looking over his shoulder at the screen. Can you break through the rest of it? There's a secondary encryption layer, my father's signature algorithm. I recognize his coding style. It's like seeing his handwriting. He swallows hard. But one wrong keystroke and the entire file corrupts, self-destructs. Everything we need to expose them disappears forever. Then be very, very precise. Her face is carved from stone, but her hands, gripping the edge of the table, betray her. The knuckles are white, bloodless. She's terrified. Not of the enemy outside, of the hope rising inside. I'll crack it, he says quietly, with more confidence than he feels. I promise. Something flickers across her expression, something that might be softness if she allowed it. He would be proud of you, your father. June's throat tightens painfully. You really think so? I know what it costs to refuse monsters when they're offering you everything. Money, power, protection. She pauses, and for just a moment, her voice drops to something almost human. Your father paid that price, so others wouldn't have to. That matters. It matters more than you know. They sit in shared silence, two strangers bound together by ghosts neither of them chose. The laptop emits a soft chime. June's screen flashes green. Access granted. Core files decrypted. Data unfolds across the display like a flower opening. Names, dates, transaction records. Shell companies nested inside shell companies, nested inside legitimate corporations. A web of corruption spanning 5 continents, and at the center of it all, a photograph. Viktor Sokolov, Chief Executive Officer, Nexus Global Enterprises. Elisa's breath catches audibly. She leans in, one hand braced on the table. That's him. June scrolls deeper into the files, following threads of encrypted communication. And there, buried in an internal memo dated 3 weeks before his father's death. Lee Taman represents unacceptable security risk. Elimination approved. Stage as accidental death. Natural gas leak recommended. No collateral witnesses. His vision blurs. The words swim and reform on the screen. Elimination approved. No collateral witnesses. They murdered him, planned it, executed it, covered it up, and moved on like his father was just an item on a checklist. His hands start shaking so badly he has to pull them away from the keyboard. Elisa sees. Her face shifts. Just for a second, the armor cracks. She hesitates, then slowly covers his trembling hands with her own. Her skin is warmer than he expected. "I'm sorry," she says, and the way she says it, like she understands exactly what it feels. Like to see proof of your worst fears. Breaks something open in his chest. He doesn't pull away. Can't. What happens now? Now we make sure he can never hide from this again. We finish what our families started. Outside, a car engine cuts abruptly. Wrong sound, wrong time. Elisa's head snaps toward the window, like a predator hearing prey. "Get down, right now. What? Get down." She kills the lights with one hand, pulls him to the floor with the other. They land hard on cheap carpet that smells like dust. Through the blinds, 3 figures moving in tactical formation. Armed, professional, heading for the building entrance. "They found us," June whispers, his voice barely audible. "Back exit, move." She's already in motion, shoving the laptop into his backpack, checking her weapon with practiced efficiency. "I can't leave you. We're both leaving, now." Glass explodes inward from the living room window. Wood splinters as the front door crashes open. They run. Through the tiny kitchen with its ancient appliances, out the back service entrance, down metal stairs that ring like bells under their feet, into rain-slicked alleys that all look the same in the dark. Gunshots crack behind them, sharp, precise, professional. Elisa returns fire twice without breaking stride. Controlled bursts. One pursuing figure drops. She grabs June's hand, her grip like iron, and pulls him through a maze of back streets that she clearly knows by heart. Left, right, through a gap in a chain-link fence, under a loading dock, until they finally emerge onto the empty rooftop of an abandoned parking structure. The city sprawls below them, 10,000 indifferent lights stretch to the horizon. Rain falls steadily, soaking through their clothes. June collapses against a concrete barrier, gasping so hard his lungs burn. His legs feel like water. Elisa leans against the ledge 20 feet away, breathing hard but controlled. Blood darkens her jacket sleeve, spreading. "You're bleeding." "Minor graze, I've had worse." "Let me see it." He pushes himself upright, crosses to her on shaking legs, starts to pull off his hoodie. She flinches away. "I don't need." "Just let me help, please." He presses the bundled fabric against her arm. She hisses in pain, but doesn't pull away this time. He works as carefully as his trembling hands allow, wrapping the makeshift bandage with the drawstring from the hoodie. His touch is gentle despite the adrenaline still screaming through his system. "You're not invincible," he says softly. "You know that, right?" A bitter half-smile touches her mouth. "Can't afford to be anything else." "Maybe not with them." He ties off the bandage, checking to make sure it's secure. "But with me, you can be. You don't have to be strong every second. Not with me." Rain falls harder now, steady, almost cleansing, washing away the blood and the fear and the accumulated weight of 10 years. She looks away, blinks hard against something that isn't rain. When was the last time anyone cared whether I bled? When did I last let someone close enough to care? If stories of unexpected courage and love that defies the darkness move you, subscribe now and join us every night for romance that believes in justice. Hit that button. By dawn, they've relocated to a studio apartment in a building scheduled for demolition in 6 weeks. The landlord doesn't ask questions if you pay cash 3 months up front. Transient, forgettable. Perfect for hiding. June sets up his equipment on a folding table someone left behind. Alisa secures the perimeter, checking sight lines, marking escape routes, memorizing the pattern of normal sounds so she'll notice when something changes. They move around each other like dancers learning complicated choreography, testing the rhythm, finding the spaces where they fit. By mid-afternoon, the decryption is nearly complete. A sprawling web of corruption connecting corporations and governments across 3 continents. Money laundering, weapons trafficking, political manipulation. Market manipulation that triggered recessions in smaller countries just to line certain pockets. The scale of it is staggering. "This is massive," June says quietly, staring at the screen. "When this goes public, the shockwave will be global. Stock markets will crash, governments will fall, people will go to prison for the rest of their lives." Alisa stands at the window, arms crossed, watching the street below. Late afternoon sun slants through dirty glass. "That's the point. They'll come at us harder than before. You know that." "They already are." He turns in his chair to face her fully, studies her profile, the sharp line of her jaw, the tension in her shoulders, the way she never quite relaxes even when they're safe. "Alisa, be completely honest with me. Why did you really pull me into this?" She doesn't answer immediately. The silence stretches long enough that he thinks maybe she won't. Then she turns to face him. And when she speaks, her voice is flat, stripped of pretense. "I need that encryption key to access the final layer of files. Once you've decoded everything, given me what I need to destroy them, you take that passport and vanish forever." She meets his gaze directly. "I'm using you, June. Your skills, your father's algorithm. Do you understand that?" He nods slowly, feeling something heavy settle in his chest. "Yeah, I figured as much." "Then why are you still here?" "Because understanding your reasons doesn't change mine." A sad smile touches his mouth. "I'll leave when you genuinely don't need me anymore, when the work is done and you're safe. Not because you're pushing me away to protect me." Her chest constricts. "You're being foolish." "Probably." He stands, crosses the small room until he's close enough to see the gold flecks in her dark eyes. "But someone has to be. You've been carrying this alone for too long. And maybe I can't fight like you or think 3 steps ahead like you. But I can make sure you don't have to do this completely alone." not anymore. She wants to argue, wants to build the walls higher, lock the gates, retreat into the fortress of solitude. She's built over 10 years, but his steadiness disarms her, his quiet conviction. This boy who should have taken the ticket and run, but instead chose to stay. Why won't he save himself? Why does part of me desperately not want him to? 2 days later, working in shifts while the other sleeps, June finally cracks the final encryption layer. Hidden in his father's work files is more than just refusal documentation. There's a fragmentary backup of the original algorithm, partial, incomplete, but enough to prove what Nexus Global intended to build. Enough to prove it was designed as a weapon. And there's one more thing, a video file, time-stamped 11:47 p.m., the night before Lee Taemin died. June's hand hovers over the play button. His heart pounds so hard he feels sick. He clicks. His father's face fills the screen, exhausted, frightened, but somehow still composed. The image is grainy, recorded on an old webcam in dim lighting, but it's unmistakably him. Same eyes, same gentle smile trying to hide fear. June, my son, my brilliant, beautiful son. His father's voice cracks slightly. If you're watching this, then I'm gone and they've come for what I built. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you from this darkness. I tried. I refused them. I destroyed the work, but they won't stop. They never stop. A pause. His father looks down, composing himself. You're smarter than I ever was. If you can finish what I started, if you can expose them, show the world what they really are, then do it. For all the people they'll hurt if no one stops them. Another pause. When he looks back at the camera, tears shine in his eyes. But if you can't, if it's too dangerous, if the cost is too high, then run, live. Find joy somewhere far from all this. Fall in love. Build things that matter. Be the man I know you'll become. He smiles through tears. Your father loves you, always, in this world and the next. The screen goes black. June sits frozen in front of the laptop. Tears stream down his face unchecked. His hands tremble violently. Elisa stands behind him. She's been watching from the doorway, watching him fracture. And for the first time in 10 years, her grief isn't a solitary burden carried in darkness. She crosses the room slowly, kneels beside his chair. He was trying to protect you, she whispers, even at the very end. They murdered him for being decent. His voice cracks completely. For having a conscience, for refusing to help them hurt people. Just like your mother. Just like Maya. Just like everyone who ever stood in their way and said no. Elisa's throat burns with unshed tears. I know. I thought it was random, meaningless, just life being arbitrarily cruel the way it sometimes is. He looks at her through blurred vision. But it wasn't random. They chose this. They sat in a room and decided that good people were acceptable losses. That murder was just another business expense. Yes. And now we're in it. Both of us, hunted, and I don't. His composure shatters completely. He buries his face in his hands. What if we don't make it out? What if this is how it ends for us too? She takes his face in both hands, gentle but firm, makes him look at her. We will survive this, we will. Her voice is fierce, absolute. Because your father didn't sacrifice himself for nothing. Neither did my mother or Maya. We finish this. We expose every single one of them. We make sure their deaths meant something, together, and then we survive, both of us. He searches her eyes, finds no doubt, no hesitation, just ironclad conviction. Together, he breathes like a prayer. But as he says it, as she holds his face and feels the warmth of his skin against her palms, Elisa realizes something that terrifies her more than any enemy. I've spent 10 years ready to die for revenge, ready to sacrifice everything for justice. But now I'm terrified of dying, not because of the pain, but because it would mean leaving him behind. When did that change? When did he become more important than the hatred I've nursed for a decade? They spend another day organizing the evidence, cross-referencing files, building an ironclad case that even the best lawyers in the world couldn't defend against. Then they take everything to Elisa's federal contact, a prosecutor named Martinez who's been building cases against corporate corruption for 15 years. A woman with steel in her spine and permanent exhaustion around her eyes. Martinez spreads the files across her desk, reading in silence. Her expression doesn't change, but her hands start to shake slightly. "This is it," she finally says. "This is everything we've needed. We can get warrants, federal raids. We can take down the entire network." She looks up at Elisa. "How certain are you about the sources?" "Completely certain. Lee Taman was one of their own engineers. This is all internal documentation." Martinez nods slowly. "Then we move in 48 hours. We'll coordinate with Interpol for the overseas branches. This is going to be the biggest takedown in 20 years. For the first time since she was 17, Elisa feels something like peace beginning to form. Justice, finally within reach. But that evening, safely back in their borrowed apartment, her phone vibrates. Unknown number, video file attached. She opens it. Ice floods her veins instantly. The video is short, 10 seconds. Surveillance footage from a street camera. June. Walking to a corner store, 3 blocks from the apartment. Completely unaware he's being tracked. Timestamp 20 minutes ago. Then a voice, cold, accented, unmistakably European. "The boy dies within the hour, unless you deliver all files and yourself. Pier 19, midnight. Come alone, or we start with his fingers and work our way up. We'll send them to you one at a time." The screen goes black. Elisa's hands shake so badly she nearly drops the phone. She stares at June across the room. He's heating soup on their single hot plate, humming something soft and off-key, completely oblivious to the danger. "I can't lose him, not after everything." "June." He turns at her tone, sees her face, and sets down the ladle immediately. "What happened?" "You need to leave right now. Go directly to the federal building where Martinez works. Stay there with armed guards until this is over." "What are you talking about?" "They have surveillance on you. They're threatening." Her voice breaks. She forces it steady. "You need to go right now. Every second you stay here puts you in more danger." "I'm not going anywhere without you." "This isn't up for debate?" "You're absolutely right. It's not." He crosses to her in 3 strides. "We're in this together. That was the deal. That's still the deal." "The deal was I'd use you for the decryption, then you'd disappear." The words tear out of her. "Don't you understand? I brought you into my nightmare. I dragged you into a war you never asked for. And now the thought of them hurting you, of you bleeding because of choices I made." She can't finish the sentence. He takes her trembling hands, holds them steady between his own. "Then we end it tonight, together, so neither of us has to be afraid anymore." She wants to scream at him, push him bodily toward the door, lock him in a safe room somewhere far from here. But she knows he won't go, knows that stubborn set to his jaw. Foolish, brave, stubborn boy, just like me. They don't go to Pier 19 like lambs to slaughter. They spring a counter trap instead. Elisa calls Martinez, lays out the situation. Within 2 hours, they have a plan. The old industrial tunnel on Route 9, abandoned since the new highway bypass, opened 5 years ago, isolated, controllable. Multiple entry points for tactical teams, perfect for an ambush. Elisa will wear a wire, draw Sokolov out, get a full confession on record with multiple federal agents as witnesses. Then tactical units move in, clean arrest, by the book, dangerous but survivable if everyone does their job. June absolutely hates every single second of the plan. You're bait. I've been bait for a decade. The only difference is this time I choose the hook. She checks her weapon with practiced efficiency, sliding the magazine out and back in with a satisfying click. That really doesn't make me feel any better about this. It's not supposed to. She looks at him, really looks, and something in her expression softens. But it ends tonight, one way or another, and tomorrow we get to start thinking about what comes after. They drive to the tunnel in tense silence. Rain hammers the windshield in sheets. The city gradually fades behind them, replaced by empty industrial zones and skeletal buildings waiting for demolition. At the tunnel entrance, Elisa parks the car facing outward, ready for a quick escape. She kills the engine, turns to June. You stay in this car, doors locked, engine running. Anything goes wrong, anything at all, you drive straight to the federal building. Don't stop. Don't look back. Martinez's people will be waiting. I understand the plan. Then promise me you'll follow it exactly. He hesitates. Elisa, promise me, June. I need to hear you say it. I promise. She leans across the console, cups his face with one hand. Her palm is warm against his cheek. Then she kisses his forehead, brief, tender, like a benediction. Thank you for being reckless enough to stay with me, for not running when you should have. I'd do it again, he says softly, every time. Then she's gone, car door opening and closing, walking toward the tunnel mouth where darkness waits. He watches her silhouette disappear into shadow and forces himself to breathe. Come back to me. Inside the tunnel, darkness swallows light completely. Water drips steadily from cracks in concrete overhead. Her footsteps echo, each one carrying her deeper into the trap. Viktor Sokolov emerges from the shadows with 4 armed men flanking him. He looks exactly like his photographs. Silver hair perfectly styled. Expensive suit under a designer overcoat. Cold smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Unexpected choice of venue, he says, his accent thick. But you came. I'm genuinely impressed. Most people would have run. I'm not most people. No, you're the girl who should have died 10 years ago with her family. He circles her slowly, hands in his pockets. Such tenacity, such dedication to a lost cause. Your mother would be proud. Just before she died, she said something very similar. Rage flares white hot in Elisa's chest, but she keeps her voice steady. You murdered them because they witnessed a transaction. I protected valuable business interests. They saw things they shouldn't have seen. Consequences followed. His tone is clinical, detached, like discussing quarterly earnings. Just as consequences will follow tonight. Where's the boy? Safe, far from here. Liar. His smile sharpens. He gestures to his men. They advance. Federal agents flood in from both ends of the tunnel. Floodlights snap on, blindingly bright. Federal agents, weapons down, get on the ground now. Gunfire erupts instantly. Chaos. Sokolov's men scatter, taking cover behind support pillars. Federal tactical teams return fire in controlled bursts, but one of Sokolov's men, younger, faster, breaks through the confusion, sprints toward the tunnel entrance, toward the car, toward June. Elisa sees everything in slow motion. Her heart stops completely. No! She runs, faster than she's ever moved in her entire life. Legs burning, lungs screaming. The man raises his weapon, 9mm, professional grip, aiming at the car windshield. June sees him coming, throws the door open, using it as a shield, exactly like they practiced. The shot rings out. Safety glass spiderwebs, but Elisa's already there. She tackles June backward into the car, covering him with her entire body. Fires twice over his shoulder without looking. Muscle memory, years of training. The attacker drops. For a long moment they're tangled together, her weight pressing him into the seat, both breathing hard, hearts hammering against each other. Alive, alive, alive. "Are you hurt?" she gasps. "No, I'm fine. You came back." "Of course I did." She frames his face with both shaking hands, looks directly into his eyes. "No revenge is worth your life. Nothing is worth your life. Do you understand me?" He pulls her closer. "You're not allowed to die for me." "Not planning on it. We have too much to do tomorrow." Around them, the gunfire stops. Federal agents secure the scene. Sokolov is dragged out in handcuffs, still screaming threats that mean absolutely nothing now. Prosecutor Martinez appears beside the car, slightly out of breath. "It's over. We have everything. Full confession recorded. Weapons charges. Attempted murder of federal agents. He'll spend the rest of his life in a maximum security prison." But Elisa barely registers the words. She's holding June and he's holding her, and they're both still breathing, and the war is finally over. We made it. Somehow, impossibly, we made it. After the statements and the questioning and the preliminary hearings, and all the machinery of justice finally grinds to a temporary halt, they stand together on a deserted overpass at dawn. Pink and gold light spills across the city skyline like watercolor paint bleeding across canvas. Below them, the city wakes slowly. Ordinary people, starting ordinary days. Coffee brewing, children getting ready for school, traffic beginning its eternal cycle, oblivious to the battle fought in darkness, unaware of what almost happened. June leans against the railing, exhausted down to his bones. Quiet. "You got justice," he says finally, voice soft. "For your mom, for Maya, for my dad, for everyone they ever hurt." "We did," Elisa corrects gently. "Together." He turns to look at her fully. The rising sun catches in her hair, turning the edges gold. "So what about me?" She meets his eyes, searching. "What about you? What do I get from all this?" His voice is sincere, open, vulnerable in a way that makes her chest ache. "I didn't stay for revenge. I didn't stay because I wanted to be a hero or prove something. I stayed because I couldn't walk away from you. Because from the moment I met you, walking away felt impossible." Her breath catches. "I know. So now what? You got what you came for, justice, closure, the thing you've been hunting for 10 years. He swallows hard. "Do I just disappear now?" Take that passport and vanish like you planned from the beginning? No. The word breaks from her like something physical. No, I don't want that. I don't want you to disappear. Then what do you want? She steps closer, takes his hands, holds them like they're precious. I spent 10 years wanting only one thing: revenge, justice, making them pay for what they took from me. Her voice cracks. But somewhere in the last week, somewhere between the running and the fighting and you refusing to leave, that changed. You changed it, changed me. How? I don't want revenge anymore, June. I just want the future I was too afraid to imagine, the one I didn't think I deserved. She looks up at him through tears, the one with you in it. What does that future look like? I don't know yet. A watery laugh. I've spent so long planning for one specific ending, I forgot to imagine what comes after, but I know I want to build it with you. If you'll let me, if you still want. He pulls her into his arms before she can finish, holds her tight against his chest. No more running, he murmurs into her hair. No more running, she agrees, pressing closer. I choose this. I choose you. I choose the future we can build together. He pulls back just enough to see her face. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She rests her head on his shoulder, and for the first time in 10 years, maybe the first time in her entire life, she stays without armor. No walls, no weapons, no carefully maintained distance. Just him, just this moment, just the terrifying, beautiful possibility of tomorrow. The sun rises higher, painting the world in shades of gold and hope. And two people who survived darkness finally step into light. 6 months pass like water finding new channels after a dam breaks. They open the Lee Taman Foundation in a renovated storefront downtown. Large windows facing the street, bright paint on the walls, yellows and blues that feel hopeful. The space fills quickly with donated computers, comfortable chairs, bookshelves stocked with programming manuals and novels. The walls fill even faster with children's drawings, thank you letters in careful handwriting, photos of families reunited, charges dropped, futures reclaimed. June teaches coding workshops 3 evenings a week. Kids from broken homes, foster care, juvenile detention. Kids who've been told they'll never amount to anything. He teaches them that broken things can be fixed, that they can build something beautiful from nothing but logic and determination. Elisa handles legal advocacy and support services, helping survivors navigate systems designed to silence them, connecting them with pro bono lawyers, counselors, safe housing. Using everything she learned in 10 years of fighting corruption to fight for the people caught in its machinery. The work is hard, exhausting, sometimes heartbreaking, but it's good, it matters, it builds instead of destroying. One evening as they're locking up, June turning off computers, Elisa filing paperwork, she pauses at the door, looks back at the space they've created together. You know what I realized today? What? He joins her at the door, slipping his hand into hers. This work we're doing, helping these kids, rebuilding their faith in the world, it's more inspirational than anything I accomplished in 10 years of hunting shadows. She squeezes his hand. Revenge only destroys. This builds something real, something that grows. He smiles, brings her hand to his lips, and kisses her knuckles gently. Took you long enough to figure that out. Better late than never. She leans her head against his shoulder. Thank you for showing me there was another way, for being patient while I learned how to build instead of burn. You would have figured it out eventually. Maybe, but it would have taken longer and hurt more. She lifts her head to look at him. You made me believe I could be someone other than the girl who lost everything. You made me believe I deserved a future. You always deserved it. You just needed someone to remind you. They walk home through streets they've helped make incrementally safer. Not perfect, nothing ever is, but better, measurably better. Kids wave at them from stoops. The owner of the corner store calls out a greeting in Spanish. They're part of the neighborhood now, part of the community they're helping rebuild. At their apartment building, a modest walk-up with actual heat and water pressure, June stops on the stoop. Hey, yeah? I'm really proud of us, of what we've built. She looks at this man who refused to let her fight alone, who stayed when staying was stupid, who loved her before she knew how to love herself. Me too. Inside, they cook dinner together. His Korean recipes that remind him of his father, bulgogi, kimchi jjigae, perfectly sticky rice. Her additions that make him laugh, way too much garlic, experimental spice combinations that sometimes work and sometimes absolutely don't. They move around the small kitchen like dancers now, practiced, comfortable, knowing exactly where the other will be. It's simple, ordinary, domestic in the most beautiful way. And for two people who survived chaos and violence and loss, ordinary feels like the greatest luxury imaginable. Late that night, they sit curled together on their second-hand couch. Her head rests on his chest, rising and falling with his breathing. His arm circles her shoulders, holding her close. Outside, the city hums its endless song. Sirens in the distance, traffic on the main boulevard, the sounds of millions of lives being lived. Rain patters gently against the window, soft, steady. The kind of rain that cleans instead of drowning. June. Her voice is quiet in the darkness. Thank you. For what? For refusing to leave when I told you to. She traces idle patterns on his chest. For staying when any sane person would have run. For loving me when I was so busy hating that I'd forgotten how to do anything else. He runs his fingers through her hair, slow, soothing. You made it easy. Liar. She smiles against his chest. Okay, you made it interesting and occasionally terrifying. He grins, but absolutely worth every second. She lifts her head to look at him. Their faces are close in the dim light. I love you. I don't think I say it enough, but I do. So much it scares me sometimes. I know. He cups her face with one hand. I love you too. Have since that first night on the rooftop when you let me bandage your arm and pretended you didn't need anyone. I did need someone. I just didn't know how to admit it yet. And now I know that needing someone isn't weakness. It's just being human. She kisses him. Soft, sure. I'm glad I get to be human with you. Me too. They settle back into comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need filling, the kind that speaks of deep knowing. Alisa thinks about the girl she used to be, 17 years old, standing in the ashes of everything she loved, swearing revenge with blood on her hands and grief in her heart. That girl believed justice could only come through her own hands. That love was a luxury she couldn't afford. That letting anyone close meant giving them the power to destroy her. That girl is gone. In her place, a woman who learned that love isn't weakness. It's the strongest thing she's ever chosen. That opening your heart isn't surrender, it's victory over fear. That healing requires infinitely more courage than vengeance ever did. What are you thinking about? June murmurs, half asleep. That I'm grateful you're stubborn. He laughs quietly. The sound rumbles through his chest against her ear. Me too, best mistake I ever made. Staying with me was a mistake? Logically, absolutely. Staying with an angry woman, hunting a criminal empire, while armed men try to kill us both? He kisses the top of her head. Worst decision possible. And yet it's the only decision I would make again. Every single time, in every possible universe. She smiles in the darkness, closes her eyes, breathes him in. Outside, rain continues to fall, washing the city clean, nourishing the gardens where things grow. Inside, two hearts beat in perfect synchronization, no longer haunted by ghosts they couldn't lay to rest, no longer fighting shadows that multiplied in darkness, no longer alone in the ways that carve hollows in your chest, just loved, just safe, just home. And somewhere between one breath and the next, Elisa finally releases the weight she carried for a decade. Not because she forgot what happened, she'll never forget. The scars are permanent, but because she chose to build something new instead of remaining forever in the ruins. She chose forgiveness. Not for them, they don't deserve it, but for herself, so she could finally be free. She chose love, even though it terrified her, even though it meant being vulnerable in ways she'd spent years avoiding. She chose life, real life, the messy, complicated, beautiful kind that happens after the ending, after the revenge, after the credits roll. With him, because of him, for him, together, always. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more romance that believes in justice, healing, and the courage to love again. New stories every night at this same time. We'll see you tomorrow.